about it after if you want to. But
well, I mean, I think it's definitely not something that's gonna be useful to like fully dive in and address on this call.
Well, hey guys, we're live, and we'll take the groups of poll on it. So what you guys know the drill here. This is the LIA monthly roundup. We're going to go over March and Q1. We might diagnose some issues that Colton's feeling in his business currently. Just out of curiosity, those are related to market selection, pricing, all that jazz.
For the most part, yeah.
I think it's going to be relevant. I mean, if I had to summarize the number one question that I get, it's that. And like on the call yesterday inside the program, we went 2 hours, and a lot of it was around market selection. Like even guys that are advanced, things still come up around that, right? So it's kind of like this never-ending game. So it might be worth talking about. We don't have to go a mile deep on it. We'll see what the actual issue is. We might be able to diagnose it pretty quick. But how are you guys? It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, it's good to see you. I'm excited to hear how the Philippines.
Yeah, for you guys that don't know, I was away for 2 weeks in March, which was incredible. Like a blend of a vacation and meeting my team, which was way more significant than I expected. It was actually like, it was pretty profound to meet them in person. You know, people you've been working with for years. It was dope. Like so dope, so worth the price of admission, you know, a couple $1,000 to get there. I will say it's the longest flight I've ever been on. On the way there, it's like almost 16 hours, which I fly into Europe, it's like 12 to 13 usually. And then coming back, it's interesting. You get in the trade winds, and so it's only 12 hours. It's like a substantial difference. Yeah. Dude, the plane that we were in, I'm going to geek out about planes briefly, but we were in a 777 extended range, I think is what it was. And for the weight capacity and the distance that we were flying, we literally calculated it. We were coming in petering on fumes. Like we maxed out the distance that plane could actually go for how many people were on it.
16 hours nonstop.
Nonstop, bro. I mean, like, I think that's almost as far as a plane can fly nowadays.
Yeah, that's no joke.
But there's longer flights out there, but very few and far between. Maybe 17 hours is the longest commercial flight. It's freaking a long time, man.
Well, you guys went island hopping there? Like hopped on?
So yeah, once you get there, I mean, you know, I was so ignorant around the Philippines, and I learned a lot while I was there. I figured it's probably like 4 or 5 islands, right? No, it's over 7,000 islands. Oh, it's so hard to get anywhere. It requires a plane. And then, like, my next kind of ignorant thought was like, oh, we'll just like charter a boat. I mean, dude, some of these would take 16 or 20 hours on a boat to get to one island from the other. Oh. So we went to, these aren't the names of the islands, but these are the destinations. So Manila, obviously, El Nido, which hands down, probably my favorite place I've ever been in the world, honestly. And then Boracay, which I don't really love Boracay. It's like a party island. It's a tiny little island. Wasn't that fun, honestly. But going out to El Nido was amazing. So it's on the Palawan, I think is what the island's called. And we went and did like a whole motorcycle trip through the islands. And honestly, like, dude, just shooting the breeze with the locals and just hanging out with them was actually some of the most fun. Like, no, I hate making generalizations, but I think it's pretty accurate. Dude, Filipinos love to have a good time. They're jokesters. They are always cracking jokes. There's a really cool relationship with North America, and I think Americans in particular. I feel like if you travel abroad, you're either hated or you're loved as an American. It's very polarizing. We were on the camp of like, they loved having us there. There's just like such a graceful culture.
What island was your team on? Like, where'd you meet them?
So yeah, they were all over, honestly. Like that's why I was only able to meet up with 2 out of the 7 or 8 that we have currently in the Philippines. So they were on the islands that Manila's on, which I can't remember the name, but they were like way on the outskirts. It was like a trek for them to get there. What's crazy though is like we calculated it. We ended up spending a third of our time in Manila, which is kind of unfortunate. Manila's like, dude, it's giant. It's twice the size of New York City in terms of population. The traffic's heinous. There's one part that's really nice called BGC, which is like looks just like Miami. The rest of it's not very nice. But because like there's so many logistical issues and the transportation is horrendous. That's the one thing they have not figured out. If you look at like, you know, everyone shits on the airlines here in the US, dude, not even compare. We had a plane leave early. When the hell does that happen? When does a plane leave early? That's insane, dude. You can't make any plans around it. We had so many flights get canceled. Half of our, you know, out of 7 flights, half of them got canceled. We spent like $8,000 on rebooking flights for the group. That's crazy. I flew on I did a whole flight with no shirt on. It was so
I saw that.
Yeah.
Give me an explanation for that one.
Dude, we wanted to push the envelope. We get on the flight, we take our shirts off. No one says anything. Stewardess comes, hands us water. Get into the airport, no one says anything. We grab our luggage, get into the taxi, no one says anything. The only time it got brought up is when we went into the hotel. Which, dude, the hotels there's the last thing I'll say about this. The hotels there are literally like Fort Knox. There's guys with machine guns everywhere in the hotel.
Really?
Crazy security systems. Like going through TSA to get into the hotel. We're not having the shirtlessness, but it's pretty funny. Imagine doing that in the U.S., dude. Fuck you, they throw you off the plane midair. Like no chance you'd survive that. Anyways, guys, excited to catch up. How's everyone been doing quarter one? Let's get the kind of real time pulse. How's business been? You think things are getting better, getting worse? I think we were all kind of holding our breath leading into this year and this quarter. I know how I feel, but I'm curious. Mike, I'll throw it to you. How was quarter one?
Quarter one was slow. Quarter one was slow, yeah. But I only have myself to blame. I want to make sure my laptop's on charge because when I don't mail at the end of 2022, then I don't have deals closed come 2023. I have nothing to sell, so I only have myself to blame. But it was slow.
What does slow look like? Can we put numbers to that?
Yeah, I think we did right around 150,000 gross, and then we're probably 75,000 net.
Yep.
Which is just way off our goal. I wanted to do that in January. But then you start mailing a ton in January, and now come closing out April, I'll almost match that in April. So it's just a factor of November, December. So April's gonna be super, super good. And then, we're putting these big 6-figure deals under contract now. So, hopefully May will be just as good. So yes, it's just I did super bad the first quarter, but I should match the whole first quarter in April, just a factor of.
Dude, well, that's the weird thing about this business that I always have to keep in mind is that in a lot of businesses, it's your revenue is going to be somewhat consistent or linear. And so it's rare that you're going to get huge peaks and troughs. That's not the case with land business.
Yeah, no.
You could literally make $500,000 or even $1 million in a singular month. You can make your whole year in a month if you have the inventory to support it. And it's not really going to require that much more work, right? I had a similar experience, right? We didn't really come in with a great pipeline. We didn't really have a lot of good stuff in inventory. So sales were okay. I don't know the exact, I could pull it up here. Sales were okay, but really where I surprised myself was on the acquisitions front. And so I was pretty concerned. Let's see, we did in sale, $700,000 in sales. That's total sales price. I don't know exactly the numbers behind that. In terms of, probably not great numbers, not where we wanted to be at, right? And in January, we acquired one deal. It's crickets out there. But come February, we ramped it up, 22 deals. March, we did 5 deals. But in total, in the first quarter, we acquired almost $750,000 of new inventory, which really that's the real goal that I'm working towards is at least $1 million a quarter or more of new acquisitions. And I know everything kind of cascades positively from there. And some really, really good deals. But yeah, we saw the same thing. We just weren't mailing towards the end of the year, and we really suffered because of it. And we just didn't really have a great inventory. But acquisitions have been great. What about you, Colin? How have things been so far first quarter?
I'm close to the same boat with Mike there. I mean, I think it sounds like all of us were on the same page with not mailing at the end of the year. So January was real slow on acquisitions. I have intended to really ramp things up through the last 2 months, and then that is where we're coming into the issue we talked about before this call. Struggling a little bit on the market research side. A big part of it too, I think, so a lot of it has just been a ton of training and onboarding and going through that whole process. Couple acquisitions managers that fell off. Then we finally got one. We've got her running through the mix. Lost our other VA that was handling some of our marketing and just helping out with ad posting, responding to inbound leads, things like that, creating new property listings. So getting someone on board for that as well. And I've just learned that I hate that.
The hiring part, the hiring and training?
And then monitoring their work and following up. And it's been It's been some boring times here in the land business. I just want to do deals. I don't want to manage people. I don't want to teach people little tedious tasks. So been pretty distracted with that instead of doing what I need to be doing on the market research side. But overall, I mean, okay. I think we're at like around like 50 net so far in the first quarter, and that's on like a very low amount of mailers, like less than 10,000 so far
for the total for the quarter.
10,000 per month. So we are slacking on the mailing side, and your boy needs some help there.
We'll talk about that in a second. I think you brought up a good point though in terms of hiring, right? And like, I mean, I don't the one part I never love the training side of things. I think the training is pretty boring. I do like the like kind of leadership side. Like to me, that's a lot more fun to show someone how to do it and then they do it than me do it kind of thing, right? And so it's always been like, one step back, two steps forward. And if you haven't seen the light at the end of the tunnel, it feels like, is this ever going to get better? Like these are your first big major hires because you just don't know if it's going to play out. Now I've got a large enough sample size where I'm like, that initial boring work is so worth it because I know it can come on the other side if they're a good hire. Caveat, right? So, and this is also because this is your first time making some big hires. You don't really have like that backlog of training material, documentation to go through. So it's a lot of like one-to-one, hand-to-hand combat to get them onboarded. Unfortunate to hear that your marketing VA left, but how have things been going with the acquisition manager? And first, my second question too, just to piggyback on that. How are they staying busy with such a small amount of mail going out?
By also helping out with the marketing side. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it's been a battle of balance, really. I felt like we sent out some mailers. We got a good amount from the mailers that we had sent out. I was getting overloaded with the acquisitions, understanding, okay, it's really important. I need to get an acquisitions manager in to help out with this. Hire the acquisitions manager takes way more time and effort than I was assuming it would. Training and all of that. In that, I start focusing 100% on I need to train this person. I need to have her set up and ready to roll. Slacking on the mailing side. Now she's ready to roll. She doesn't have a lot of acquisitions to work on. So it is just a roller coaster here. But we're coming around. I think we're finally at a spot now where everything is ready to roll. I just need to step it up, blast out, at least 10,000 this month. And I'm confident I can do that. I have a fair amount that I think is ready to go. But I don't know. I think Mike helped me out in the past, and it's possibly it's the same situation where I'm just overthinking things and kind of the paralysis by analysis.
I think
I'll know anything.
After working with you for the last few months, I think overthinking can be a tendency for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I want to unpack that and talk about it. But I think you bring up a good point too that I just want to share. Which in this business we are professional jugglers. Like you are always trying to keep those things in balance. I will say I would almost rather have a slightly less trained acquisition manager in the first month or two and have a pipeline for them to work than have a really trained acquisition manager that's sitting on their hands, right? So if we have to judge priorities when we're juggling, I would say execute on the marketing or the mail before anything else. And the thing is, like, if they get really good month 1 or month 2 or month 3, it's not going to make a huge difference. If you hired right, they should be decent enough to like handle themselves on the phone and not make too many blunders. But if they're like an expert level now in acquisitions, but there's no pipeline, like Mike's talking about, like I was talking about, as you know, it takes a long time to build that pipeline back up again. So you sent 10,000 mailers this month. We don't really feel the effects of that until end of May, beginning of June. I would just say, like, dude, that's got to be priority number 1. And really always, like, there's just never anything that gets in the way. I'm like, hey, I got a birthday party to go to today. I haven't got my mail out, so I'm getting the mail out. Like, it's just, we live and die by it, as you know. So we'll talk about that in a second. One thing I do want to share here, super exciting, because I've been talking about this ad nauseum, been a lot of false starts, and we have a lot of stuff that's like at different stages, but we finally got our first subdivide rolling. We sent out the surveyor on Friday. Super exciting, 60 acres. I'll actually share it with you guys after the fact. We had a really good call yesterday. I went through it on the call. but I can send it to you. I got a couple questions. I'm just curious to get your guys' feedback on it. It's an interesting property. We've been working this market for a while in Texas. We had a couple other sellers that we've been working. One of the guys had a 40 acre that I think we were like 7 or 8K an acre on it, but he was going to do a little bit of owner financing. We thought we could move it like 15 to 17K an acre. And then a few weeks later, we get this 60 acre right down the road at 4,500 an acre. And so we're like, okay, well, this is the one we're going to work with first. Beautiful road frontage on 2 sides of it. It's like the perfect subdivided candidate. But what's weird is I thought like someone had like created like a dirt track, like a racetrack on it or something along those lines. And we got photos back. And I'm like, I wonder if someone was drilling oil on it. Well, it turns out the owner's dad used to sell dirt off the property. So like, it's not horrible, but there's towards the back of it, there's like weird chunks of dirt taken out. And it took a flat property and almost made a little bit of topography. So 10 acres are trading for like 15K an acre out there. We're buying at 45. I'm underwriting at like 9 to 11K an acre because of that. But I think there's a world where it could sell way higher. But super exciting. The surveyor, it's like almost $9 grand for the survey. It's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks. Most surveyor quotes that we got were like 8 to 12 weeks, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's one of the most tricky things that I've found with these subdivides is like you are so much more reliant on third parties than we are with the typical flips. And so things are just really slow because of that. If we could get it done in a weekend, this process would be much faster. So yeah, super excited to let you guys know how it pans out. I'll share the photos of it after if you guys want to take a look.
Did you have a realtor on this already helping you through it or no?
Not yet. We might. I mean, I don't know. It's a good question. Like
the only reason I ask is I have this lot out in Texas. Actually, it's how big is it? I don't know. I can look it up. It's probably like a 30-acre lot.
Okay.
And the realtor, I have a realtor on it because I didn't really know the area. It's got kind of like a weird easement. And that realtor, like all she does is subdivides, take these big lots, just chop them up. And she was so gung ho on like taking this lot and just like really just like taking everything off my plate and just like doing it for me. She's like, oh yeah, I'll just like get the surveyor, we'll chop it up.
What?
Yeah, like for her, it was like she does this literally all day, every day. So it was just like second nature for her. Unfortunately, the lot, like the way it sits, like it doesn't have good road access, so we couldn't subdivide it. But had it been subdividable, like she would have just like taken everything, because she gets more money ultimately when she's selling.
Smart lady, dude. Can you send me her contact info after this?
Yeah. What county is this in? Is yours in?
Yeah, I was going to say we don't have to share counties if you don't want to, but we can share counties if you do want to. This is in Hill County.
Okay, I actually don't know what county is. Mine's in Henderson County,
But yeah, that's way far east from where we're at. But maybe it's a brilliant strategy for realtors. One of the things too, I think the reason we might want to get a realtor on this is what I found in Texas. There are a lot of these realtors that just have like repeat buyers in their pockets, and it's really nice to be able to lean on those. Mm-hmm. We have this deal out by Austin, Texas that we just listed that we might use. I might want to use a realtor on it. Now I'm starting to think like, shoot, I think she could have connections that we're just not going to be able to tap into. So we'll see. But yeah, definitely send that over to me. It's super interesting.
Yeah, I'll send them.
Sumner, subdivide, are you doing anything? I know you're like going out, getting it surveyed. Or is that one that you're doing any sort of improvements, running utilities, creating new roads, anything like that?
Good question, man. So in my early stage ignorance of subdividing, I thought, let's cut in some roads, right? Seems easy enough. And there are counties out there where that is the case. The deeper I got into it, dude, the amount of brain damage in most counties just to cut a road in is unbelievable. So there are definitely projects that where it would make sense. And there's definitely markets that make it more logical than others. Like we have this 200-acre deal, which is enough acreage to where you could justify doing this. But the amount of red tape that we have to go through and the road has to be paved, right? So that 10X's our cost on the road. We don't know if we can even put a cul-de-sac on the road, like all these weird requirements. Like it looked like it was like in California with how strict it was. So it's definitely circumstantial. But I think as a general rule of thumb, like my shtick right now is no improvements. But back in the day, I was looking at these deals and I'm like, yeah, I know we could totally get away with improvements. Now that same deal is 200 acres. I would rather just chop it up into 3 separate lots than to fully maximize value with 20 lots because the amount of work and time it's going to go into it's just crazy. So for now, we're keeping it like KISS metric, right? Keep it simple.
And that's just about jumping over hurdles with the county requirements and regulations.
There's just in most counties, the way the kind of codes are written, like there's just a bunch of exemptions you can leverage. And so we're just leveraging all the exceptions. And every state, for the most part, has these. Like we have an 80-acre deal in Colorado that I was thinking about subdividing. I think at further thought, I just don't really think it's worth it. But there's like a 4-lot exemption. So if you break it up into 4 lots or less, it's like way less red tape than you would if you go in 20 lots. So in Texas, obviously the 10-acre exemption is a big thing, but then like improvements is where it gets really convoluted. So yeah, right now keeping it very, very simple. Now, if someone showed me a 2,000-acre project, well, okay, we're probably gonna have to cut roads in. It probably makes sense to go the extra mile. Speaking of that, we've got Dennis is working this deal. Pretty interesting. It's 7,000 acres in California, like kind of in the foothills of Yosemite. And he potentially wants to like partner up on it, be a subdivided candidate. Not all the lots can be subdivided. It's like dozens of individual lots that are like 40 to 50 acres each. But a lot of them have road frontage. It's all grazing land currently. The guy that owns it actually has a mortgage on the property. So Dennis is looking to either take it over sub 2 or set up like a joint venture arrangement with the guy. I forget, it's a couple $1 million the guy still owes on it. So he would just take over the payment, take over the mortgage. This guy makes over 300 grand a year just on cattle grazing, just from like leasing out the land. What's crazy is at the end of every month after paying the mortgage, he still nets about 3 grand. So he's cash positive 3 grand every month. That's pretty crazy, like cash flowing on such a big project or big property. So something like that, like, okay, maybe we'll cut roads in. That's pretty insane. Anywho, cool, man. Let's dive back to what we're talking about with the market selection, the mailing, the cadence. What's the issue here? What's the question? And we can kind of unpack it together.
I think it's just mostly the transition from the lower dollar lots that I have been to for most of the past into higher dollar with maybe less of proof of concept, for lack of a better term. I guess before it was, working in areas that are maybe a lot more popular within just the land investor space. That would like give me the confidence that, okay, people are doing it in this area, it works in this area, and we can lock it in. Felt like I would get more data. I mean, to a certain extent, it's like, you're just looking through market data, making an educated guess, and doing trial and error with the mailers. With the more expensive properties, or as I'm trying to level up, I just feel like there's less to go off of, and it's a lot more of a guess than an educated guess.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple things to look at there. So I think typically when we're looking at the cheaper markets that most people are familiar with, you do get a lot of other additional proof of concept from other land investors there, which people like. And so that's like your best data point in a lot of these markets. Flip side though, a lot of those markets don't have great MLS data. There's not a lot of like kind of retail data to lean on. So it's a double-edged sword. You could look at it both ways in terms of like they both lack some data. The other thing that you find with a lot of those markets though is like the pricing is much more consistent for large areas of land. Like if we went to Costilla County today and did what is that, RGR Ranch or whatever, it's like there's like 4,000 or whatever properties in there. They're all priced exactly the same. If you try to take that same swath of land in a high ticket county in Tennessee, for example, there's no way you're going to be able to price it accurately. And so I think that's like why a lot of what we talk about in the program is either picking subdivisions, and those can be higher end, right? That's going to make your pricing homogenous. We're just trying to find a way to make the pricing homogenous. The other thing is like when we on the call last night, which was a really good one on market selection, I also went over a few additional strategies because in a lot of cases, like subdivisions, A, will only take you so far as a mailing strategy, and B, there are limitations to it, right? And like I think it's good to have other tools in your tool belt. So one of the other ones I love doing is pulling a county, finding where there's consistency in pricing. So we pulled a county in Oklahoma last night, which that kind of land lends well to having consistency in pricing. And we found within these little pockets, 5 to 10 acres traded at the same rate. Then we also found for the entire county, 40 acres to 100 acres traded within a 4,500 to 5,500 range, right? And so we whittled that list down by a polygon. We whittled that list down by sizes, and that was able to give us data that was easy to interpret for pricing, right? So there's just a lot of different tools in your tool belt that you'll have to use to be dangerous here. But I think at the core of it, it means doing the same volume of mailing comprised of a bunch of different mailers. Like you need a high quantity of mailers because in most cases you're taking much smaller chunks of land than you ever could with like the lower tier strategy, right? I think the point of truth here is that there's data on both sides. And I think that actually I would lean to say the data is better on the higher end. It depends on what market you're working in. But I think in most cases the data is a little bit better. But I think maybe what the root cause is that you're feeling is that naturally there's more of a swing in price. So even though I think the data is cleaner, more reliable, there's just naturally because it's higher end and there's just more differentiation, you're going to see a lot more of a spread in price, which can be confusing. And that can look like bad data. But when we look at a lot of like land investor comps on land.com, we never know if it actually sold to that price. We don't know when it sold. Like, it's really unreliable data, in my opinion. I think something like Mike is a good testament to. It's just, and I guess myself to some extent, there's just no better feedback than just doing the damn thing and seeing what happens at the end of the day, right? And like mailing is an iterative process. And I can't tell you how many campaigns we send that we get wrong, and then we fix and we resend. And like it's just you keep on going. Because if we found a market that has real underlying demand, it's no longer a question of is this a good market? Now it's a question of can I price this market accurately? And that might mean mailing a few times to get it right. But since we have such a ginormous spread in between what we pay for mailing and what we get on the back end, it's totally justifiable, right? Mike, anything you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I talked about this in the call the other day because I don't remember who it was. Somebody had a question about just like they're just starting and they had like picked a few markets and they were just like, well, how do I like choose one, right? Like out of all of them, it's just like you just do it. Just pick one and just like you're never gonna like really know like how good the market is until you mail it. Just pick one and go, and then like. If you have the money, do all of them, or like do the next one the month after that, and then the month after that. Like, I try not to overthink my market at all. Like I'll mail literally anything.
Yep.
Yeah, and like a lot of times I still do it where like I'll get a mailer back and I'm just like my offer price is like more than what's listed on the market. I was like, what am I doing? And then sometimes I get an offer back. Like I just got one in Colorado. The guy accepted my offer at like $25,000. The property's listed for $100,000. It's like I would have never mailed them at $25,000 had I known it was worth $100,000. But like I don't know, like in the long run of things, like everything averages out. Like I just don't. It's not worth for me being in that like analysis paralysis stage. Like for me, it's just mail, and then you'll just figure it out. Like if I get a lot of calls and everybody's like F you. Okay, well, maybe the next time I mail it, I can like increase my pricing. Or if I get too many accepted offers, now I know I can go back and decrease my pricing. But to worry about like so much on the front end, like, is this a perfect market? Is my pricing perfect? It's just like not worth my time to me.
Yeah, dude, I agree. And I think that like a lot of errors in this business can be compensated with just more volume. I will say that like there's some people that come into this business that want every step of this process to be quantitative. The only step for me that's really quantitative is when it comes to the selection of the market, because I do think spending a little extra time there can make such a difference, right? If you go through and watch the recording from yesterday, you'll see me find a great market in like 10 minutes. Like it's not rocket science, right? We whittle it down. I just comparing sell-through rates from different markets. This one, ding, 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 is the blatant winner. So like when Mike says, hey, someone in the program says, hey, I've got 3 markets. Which one should I choose? Well, if you could do all of them, do all of them. But if you have to whittle it down, which one has the lowest supply, the most demand, pick that one, right? That to me is quantitative, but then it ends there. Like I just don't overthink the pricing because I know I'm going to get as close to right as being possible. I'm going to send it out. I'll iterate if I have to. And the thing that most people don't like to hear in this business, and it's good news that you have an acquisition manager. And Mike, I'd be curious to hear your numbers around this. Dude, all of our great deals get negotiated. All of them. Like the price on the letter is just to pre-qualify the lead. So we both know we're speaking the same language, right? But a lot of the stuff we have to renegotiate. It's a pretty rare day when we got it so right and both parties are happy. Especially as you start going up in higher ranges, a 5 to 10% swing becomes really significant for either side. And so people will fight for that. On a $4,000 property, 5 points, it's like $200. The person doesn't really care that much, right? So there's just a lot more back and forth that you'll see on price. And it's just so unlikely that you get it right in the first go.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, that is probably the number one thing, like the mindset change there, because I've experienced that in the most recent mailers or the mailers from this year. I feel like that's something I'm still maybe getting stuck on, because I hear what you guys are saying, and it makes sense that the offer is not really the end all be all. It's just an invitation to open up conversation about, is there a deal to be made here?
Yep.
I think it's still really easy for me to get stuck in the overthinking aspect of this, when in the past it was like, maybe we renegotiate, but it'd be, a couple $100. Like, yeah, sure, absolutely. But the offers were priced like pretty accurately. Like most of them were just the sign it, send it back, it's done deal. There was very little renegotiation. So the mindset change of renegotiate everything from I need to price this accurately, and that's how I get my deals. Yep. I think it's still
and I think that, I mean, I don't want to mislead you and say renegotiate everything. You know what I mean? Like you're definitely going to get it right in some cases, but I think by understanding that you can renegotiate and you have that power, it removes a lot of the pressure of having to get it right on the first go around, which, dude, is so unlikely. Like, it's so unlikely that we're going to get it right on the first pass. Very, very rare. Right. So like, that's why I'm a proponent of renegotiating. I'm a proponent of remarketing. And so, I think that like there's two kinds of people in this business. There's the kinds of people that are so sloppy when it comes to putting their mail together. There's people that are so like they're perfectionists, right? You err on the second side of things. For someone like you, it would be wise to set a timer and be like, all right, Colton, I'm sending it out come hell or high water at this mark. If I don't have it right, it's going out. And then just getting the damn thing out, because it is more painful to your business. Like let's say over the last quarter, you sent out 50,000 mailers and 25,000 of them were right. The other 25,000 were just dog crap. That is more beneficial to your business than sending out 10,000 all day long. So I just think that like, it's more painful for you to hold this stuff and try to get it right. Now you say it is a weird mindset shift. I agree. Like when back in the day doing the small deal stuff, dude, I never negotiated deals, partially because I hated doing it. And I was the guy doing it and I was scared. And like, it just doesn't seem very impactful to negotiate just a little bit up or down. It's funny, I would only negotiate if we were buying multiple deals. And so that's why I love that strategy, is because I could get a lower per price for the property. But I've just let that go. It's just not the case anymore, especially as you go up market. I think sellers are more willing to negotiate. And sometimes the negotiation looks like we get negotiated up because we were just dead wrong, but the person wants to sell to us.
I want to really touch on that real fast, because I was going through my old mailers, and in regards to like making sure that your pricing is like perfect before you send it. Pretty often I'll like go through a mailer that I've sent like 2-3 times, and I'll look at it and I'll either be like, dude, my pricing is perfect. Like this is now the third time I've looked at this market and it's perfect. Or I'll look at it and be like, I'm offering them like a really good deal. I'm offering them like 60% of value. And this is the third time I've mailed them and I still haven't gotten a deal. So I just don't think that it matters that much to get, like my pricing could be as perfect. Like I could price literally every single property individually, and there's still a chance they don't get deals. So it's just like not worth spending the time to make sure it's perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we if we got to get really, really objective about what the goal is, and I think that like it's tough because there's been so much education in the space for years, I think has been misleading, right? A lot of the stuff that's been propagated is this is a side hustle. It's kind of an easier business. You send out some mail, you get some deals. That's how it's been positioned. I don't know any business that works like that, right? And keyword, this is a business. And so if we look at any other business in any other industry, marketing is a function to get people coming to you that are hopefully pre-qualified. Hopefully your marketing did a good enough job to pre-qualify them, right? Like if I released an ad for LIA tomorrow, in that ad, I'm not going to say, hey, all construction workers, give us a call if you want to learn land investing. I'm going to get people that just aren't qualified. So I would say something like, hey, real estate investors, do you want to learn about land investing? And that's going to act as a way to pre-qualify them. So price in our letters is just hopefully a way to pre-qualify them. Doesn't mean, though, that I might run that construction ad and not get any good deals. There might be some guys that are a good fit for us. So same story here, right? All we're trying to do is get that lead in our CRM. That's the most valuable thing. And that's why like I spend a stupid amount of time thinking about this. I think at the core, the best offer strategy is a neutral letter. And I will argue anyone on that. I think that's a better offer strategy than anything else. The trouble is most people do not have the back end to ever support that. So one of the tests that we're running today, well, not literally today, but like right now in our business is we're doing a huge batch of neutral letters, like multiple campaigns, tens of thousands of neutral letters. And we are testing what is our cost per contract and what is our cost per deal. Because my hunch is almost that I think, I could be wrong, it actually might be cheaper to not have a data analyst, to not have someone doing all the research, to send out neutral letters, have a lead qualifier, and more acquisition managers. So right now we've got 2 acquisition managers, so we can support the flow. And if I have just 1 or 2 lead qualifiers, they're saying no, 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 yes, yes, yes. The yeses get past the acquisition manager. That actually might be an easier strategy to run. The trouble is that takes operational excellence that's beyond most people's scope in this business. TBD on how well that's going to work. We've already gotten some deals from it. I don't know. I also think that, like, as we're going after $500,000, $2 million properties, it's pretty effing weird for a seller to get a blind offer for their land. It's like, that's weird. I just don't think that's like very appropriate almost. So I think it actually becomes it's more of like a letter of intent. So it becomes a little more appropriate going up market to use that. So TB.
Yeah, it almost seems a little like sketchy to some people.
Dude, if so, totally.
Yeah.
It'd be very, very weird.
I just sent a mailer out and I messed up so badly. It was like an area in Texas and the lots were like, I meant to mail them like 30,000. I think they were selling at like 60 and I accidentally mailed them like 130,000. Yeah. So everybody got an offer $100,000 overpriced. And everybody was calling me just like so sketched out. Like, why? It's just, it is weird to get like it's not to say it doesn't happen. We do get them, but to get like a 6-figure price.
Very
weird. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how your neutral letter campaign pans out.
Yeah, dude, we've sent out like 20,000 plus. We've got a lot more in the pipeline. So far, so good. We haven't hit a wall where it's like unmanageable. Like the team's pretty good at filtering between good lead, bad lead. And so once we have a large enough sample size, we're just going to split test the difference. And I am venturing to guess it might be more fitting. But that doesn't mean that we're going to use that in every scenario, but I do think that there is a use case for it. Or maybe we will if the numbers are so stark. But I think, Colton, that really illustrates not that you should use neutral letters, that you just need to get the freaking mail out, even if it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's like, if we look at Mike's superpower, is sometimes he just doesn't think the things all the way through, and that works in his best interest. He just does the damn thing. And I would say the same for me. Like, this business rewards the people that just get up to bat consistently. Now, I would caution you, though, on the market selection front. That is not a time to get sloppy, because you could have a great campaign that's priced really well, but if you're sending it to Costilla County, I can tell you what your results are going to be, right? So the market selection, I do spend a disproportionate amount of time there. Everything else, it's just rapid fire, get it out.
Well, I think that's a big part too. It's not, not as much just getting caught up in pricing it perfectly, but the market selection is something, and we'll go through after the call and maybe walk through some examples or something like that. But yeah, maybe just looking through what are the key indicators that we're looking at. Am I looking at the correct key indicators here? And maybe just walk through some of the example markets that I'm looking at and get some feedback there.
Yeah. We can talk about it. Sorry, go ahead.
For the neutral letters, I think that is a pretty interesting approach to take. I was curious, what are the deciding factors that you're having acquisitions managers run through to filter out good leads and bad leads?
Yeah, so some of it we can see pretty much immediately from the call log with Pat Live. We can, they'll say in the notes, well, why are you calling? I just wanted to see what my land was worth, or get an appraisal. There's some subtle tells. Or if we just hop on the horn with them pretty quick, we'll figure out within 5 minutes. We're not sinking a disproportionate amount of time. We've had some leads though that I've gone and looked. I'm like, guys, he says he wants 250 and you're trying to make an offer at 40. Super, super unlikely that's going to happen. You can spitball the offer, but let's just move on. So there have been some leads where I'm like, okay, we haven't fully figured it out. Some areas where time's being, we're just sinking too much time on some of these leads. But for the most part, it's been pretty good. The ideal setup that I would like to have, though, is someone that's kind of acting as a filter before it reaches the acquisition manager. So if you look at most sales organizations, they're going to have what's called a setter and a closer. So the setter is going to take that pre-qual call. Most sales are going to happen on a 2-call close. So they'll take that intro call. Is this guy a good fit? If he is, pass it off to the closer. Closer will have their second call. So something similar to that, like a setter-closer structure. But a lot of the pre-qualification, unfortunately, does have to happen on the phone. I just don't want to waste my acquisition manager's time doing that. But if we get lucky, we'll see it in the call notes. But sometimes we have to dig a little bit deeper. We can unpack that further after this call, Colton. But one thing that I want to throw in there too, 2 things actually. One, this is not relevant for everyone watching this, but go into the program later today. Watch the call from yesterday. Just fast forward to the end. I think it's a really good demonstration. A lot of people have been asking Sumner select a market in real time, and we went and did that. And I think that will show you a lot. The truth is, there are so many ways to get to a similar outcome in this business for selecting markets. I showed you one way in that video. you could run with that for a long time, but it's not the holy grail only way. But what we're trying to do is have something tell us where is the most active demand, so under contract or sold in a county. Then we find that county. Then we go look at the county sell-through rate, and we start zooming in further, and find little submarkets there. But we can talk about that further after this call. The next thing that I encourage you to do, and this is true for all of us, dude. Bro, this business is like a constant game of learning, right? And what's the easiest way to learn? It's through a feedback loop. And so if your feedback loop is mailing, waiting for the market to tell you if you did a good job or a bad job, that's a slow freaking feedback loop. We're talking about 3 months. We can shorten that feedback loop by you implementing and taking that stuff to have it reviewed. And I know that seems weird because you're like, dude, I'm way farther along than most people in the program. But I still need that too. Mike still needs it. We all need that. There's guys in the program that are super far along that still get their markets reviewed or deals reviewed or whatever it may be, because this takes a village, man. Sometimes it takes the insight of others to kind of see our blind spots. And so I really, really encourage to take advantage of that, right? And I just think that's something that we always need in anything that we're doing in life. Like right now, I'm building a webinar. And in that webinar, I have a copywriter who's giving feedback on the content. I have someone reviewing the videos to review if the videos are good, because I need that feedback. I could roughly say what's good or bad, but I have blind spots. We all do. So I would really, really encourage, before you start sinking big dollars, at least have the markets reviewed at the bare minimum. And it will really shorten that learning curve, right? And so I think sometimes, like, when we get farther along, we can have pride or we think we know things. And I fall into this trap all the time. And we need help. That's just the truth. So we'll talk about that further after the call. Let's talk about any additional questions on that before we move on?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, the power of that. For me, like Christopher, my brother's in this business too, obviously, and we do this thing now where literally every single, unless it's like a really cheap dollar property, every single deal that we get back, he reviews. Every deal he gets back, I review.
Yep.
Even if it's like he knows it's a good deal, it's just nice to have like a second set of eyes. We still do it on every. So it takes me like literally 3 minutes to comp each of his properties and him the same thing. It's just like nice to have like a
super nice. Dude, you and I did that for probably close to a year. And even on deals that I knew were objectively great or crappy, I'm still like,
you still do it. Yeah.
And I'm going to do that after this call, right? I'm going to share with you guys to subdivide so you guys can be like, well, that's really bad or that's not so major. I think it's really, really important. And I honestly, not to get like too down the rabbit hole, but that's kind of like why I built this community, is honestly for selfish reasons. Like I needed some kind of a community, because it's boring, lonely, all that stuff. But also like I need feedback, right? And it's cool when I have a deal and someone's like, oh, dude, I just worked right down the street. Like I showed Clint the subdivide. He's like, dude, I've got a subdivide 100 acres right down the road. We're buying it at 5,500 acre. You're buying at 45. Like, okay, we're in the realm of being reasonable. Like we both look like we're doing the right thing. That really, really helps. I would really encourage taking that on, because the other thing too is like, without you raising your hand, it's hard to know that you're going through something, right? Like I didn't know that you were only at 10,000 mailers for the quarter. Had I known, I would have been probably barking at you. But like, just get vulnerable, throw it out there. It really, really goes a long way.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right on that. And that's definitely something that I'm falling into. I don't know, maybe like a little personal thing, ego thing, something like that. Just feel like always, it's like I know how to do this, or I can figure this out, and I'll just power through it and just keep cracking away at it. I'll figure it out on my own. But it is not working. I think I'm driving myself crazy by trying to just figure it out instead of just coming in and asking for help. So that's where we're at now.
Yeah, man. It's funny.
I spent down and I'm asking for help.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like we all feel pride. And I think we can also feel a lot of pride around the stuff that should be simple. Like you've been doing market selection for years, but you're embodying a new strategy. And so it's like, no, dude, you're starting from ground zero. As I'm going through this subdivide process, I'm constantly sending people texts. I'm like, okay, you've done a subdivide. Tell me, am I doing this right? Because I think I know the principles, but I don't want to miss something. The first 2 years in this business, I was so effing prideful that I'd never asked for help. And that led me to buying just like junk, like a bunch of landlocked stuff, just spending time in the wrong places. If I look back, I'm like, yes, I did figure it out, but it took me 2 years. I probably could have consolidated that down to 6 months, which at the end of the day, it's like the compound effect of learning something faster. I mean, that's the difference of making $10 million in 10 years or $1 million in 10 years. It really stacks. It adds up big time. Let's carve out a little bit of time to talk about any noteworthy deals, any weird things, cool things, odd things, good things. You guys got anything to share? I feel like you do.
Yeah.
But get some weird.
I'm going to start with the bad. So I got my first loser this month. Yeah. And I know it's like a part of the business. Like it really hit me hard when I like came to the realization it was yesterday, actually. Like it hurt, you know, like I've bought like hundreds of lots and this is my first loser of a deal.
Yeah.
I just have to like take a step back and think like, okay, like in a business, like in a bird's eye view, if you've done like 200 deals and one lost money, like it's okay. But like when it happens, like it hurts bad. You know?
Yeah.
So I got this lot. I bought it for, I think it was all in like it wasn't that much money, but it was all in like 19.5. Realtor told me we listed in like the 40s. We ended up listed like 36, got an offer at 25. Now he wants like 8K in concessions.
Whoa.
Yeah, like the county came out and like it's a kind of a funky shaped lot. So like it's on like the road kind of like turns a corner, kind of like juts out. It's like right there on the corner. So like the way that they'd have to like cut a driveway in, but like allow for fire trucks.
Yeah.
In Colorado. It's like a $12,000 improvement. So anyway, like long story short, I'm going to lose a couple of $1,000 on the deal, which, you know, I mean, it hurts.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I got a couple deals in inventory right now that could be the same, right? Like,
yeah. I just have to like take it back and be like, it's just part of business. It's cost of doing
business. My God. I mean, like, look at any house flipper, right? Like, I don't know if you guys know Ryan Pineda, but I saw something from him. They said he lost $500,000 a few months ago on a couple of flips. Like, that happens. And some of it could be market forces changing, or some of it could be just bad underwriting, or there's just unknown variables, right? That you don't know until you know, until you go through it and lose a little bit of money. Now you're a little more dangerous, and you know. I will say, just as a weird caveat, I hate corner lots. I don't know what it is. My corner lots have never done well for me. So just throwing that out there.
Interesting. I love corner lots.
Oh, I hate them.
That's interesting. Yeah. Some people love them.
It depends on the corner. So it depends on how the corner is. There's different kinds of corners out there, right? Different angles. But we looked at a corner lot in the group yesterday for Andy Barlow, and it was a comp that we were looking at, and it sold super low. And I'm like, yeah, these always just do poorly. And like the way it was like a major interstate, and then like the 90-degree angle for the road was pretty pitched up. And so like the way the lot was, you had like 6 feet of amount of dirt that you're gonna have to cut through. I don't know. I see a lot of stuff like that.
Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, we had a few close calls this quarter. We had 2 deals in Arizona that I've talked about before that we just did horribly on. One that we bought.
I know exactly.
45 sold for 60 finally, and one that we bought for 50 and sold for 65 or something like that. I thought those could have been losers. Those were rough deals. But we've got a deal out in Arizona as well that we bought that someone put a gate up on that we can't get past. We bought it for 13. We're probably going to have to sell it at like 9 or 8. We've got this deal in Washington that I don't think we're going to lose money on, but it might be a break-even deal that we've had for a while. So it happens, man, with a big enough sample size. I've done over 500 deals now. So it's bound to happen.
Yeah, it happens at the same, like I have to like take it all in perspective. Like at the same time, I just locked up like 3 baller deals. So yeah, so I think it's okay. Like everything in, you know,
I'll take it.
Yeah, it all evens out. So
I'll
let you go. But yeah, I got 3 other deals that are good. One was that buy for 25. It's listed at 100.
Yeah.
The next door neighbor is also listed at 100, and I guess they've gotten offers, but like the family can't decide if they want to sell or not. So,
well, if they don't take the offers, give them to you.
I know. And then one out in Texas, that one we're buying for 100. Realtors got it at 200, and then one out in Arizona. Yeah. Actually, I don't have the contract yet. I should get it in a couple of days. We're buying for 130, and I think it's about worth like 250. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Great deals, dude. Great deals. Yeah, what was I going to say? I was going to ask about that deal in Texas that you and Chris did. How did that ever pan out?
So we have a few out there.
It was like the one that you got. You gave him the mailer. He sent it. You got the baller deal.
Yeah. So I think we bought it for like 33, and then we sold it for like 90. We settled on like midnight, like 90 something.
Sweet. It's a great deal.
Yeah, great deal. And then we actually from that same mailer got another one that was going to be a double close. I think we had under contract at like 90. It was listed at like 150. Yeah. We've dropped it all the way down to like 110 now. So I hate to do it, but we'll probably have to cancel the contract. We had to put like $1,500 earnest money into that one, so we'll lose that. But you know,
it's okay.
I'd rather try than not try at all.
For sure. I always make the comparison to like venture capital, which just is nothing like. But if you look at venture capital, like the way that works is they make 10 bets and one of them pays out and wins, and it pays for all the losers. Our stats are probably more like, do 9 deals, they all work, 1 deal loses, and the losers are so small compared to the winners. But you just have to understand that's going to happen, right? And like same thing when you have someone funding the deal, they have to have context around that too. It's just the nature of this business. And we've done over 500 deals at this point. It's like a sample size like that, things are going to happen. So live and learn, move on. We actually had a double close. It looked like it was going to be our best double close to date. It was such a disappointment, man. It was in Tennessee. It's about 40 acres. We had it under contract for 60. It had weird access. We were getting an easement from the guy that actually owned it. He had a lot that had road access that was going to give access to this lot. It looked like everyone was telling us it's like worth 130, 140. And in the contract, we had 5 business days to give the earnest money deposit. And I was in the Philippines, and no one notified me. No one took care of it. He wanted it through Zelle, and I was the only one that could process it. We were a day late on it, and he canceled the contract and got an offer at that time. And I think what happened is while it was listed, someone saw it and went straight to him and gave him a fat offer. So that was disappointing, man. That was our new acquisition manager's first deal. Bummer. We got a deal in Texas, though. It's one outside of Austin, which is pretty cool. We got it at 205. And I think we got it listed like 440 right now or something like that. So it should be a good one. And then this month we've been chugging along. We've had a bunch of great deals. A lot of like buy for 30, sell for 60 type stuff. We got a deal that's a buy for, I think it's a buy for 50, sell for like probably 130, 140, which would be pretty sweet. So a lot of base hits. And then we've got just like this big old subdivided pipeline. We actually just got a deal yesterday that we might do. It's 14 acres in Texas. And we can't subdivide it. We'd have to sell as is, but the guy's willing to finance it for us. So 50K down, 200K purchase price, probably worth like close to 400. So it could be pretty cool. But yeah, just a lot of bread and butter. We've got a really big pipeline, like I said, of subdivided. So we're working on just getting more funding. We'll talk about that here in a second about how you guys have been funding deals. What about you, Colton? Anything noteworthy? I know you did like a 10 deal wholesale to Ajay.
Oh, yeah, there was like 7 lots in there.
7 lots.
That was last month, maybe 2 months ago. But
how come we didn't want to keep those?
What was that?
How come we didn't want to keep those?
I don't know. We sat on those for a while. I think we just weren't doing a great job at the market. They're pretty rough lots. That area is good, but those were like, they're pretty steep lots. The utility situation over there is not ideal. It's like, they can be good lots, and we sold a handful of them over there. It just took us really long, and you got to really work with the right buyer there. That's somebody who's going to come in. They want to build a home. They're going to put in a lot of money to prep that lot to build on it. And so, I don't know. I felt like we were just kind of spinning our wheels on that. We spent enough time on there and just wanted to get rid of those and move the funds toward new properties coming in. So,
was it a good wholesale? Was there a good spread?
Not really. I mean, well, I guess, I don't know. We made like $3,000 on each lot, 7 of them. So yeah, but I mean, I think they can be pretty good for the other lots that we sold in that area. We were selling at like 20 to 25. So, I mean, if you can move all those, they're all adjacent lots too. When I first got those, I was really excited. I thought we were going to sell them for like, over $100,000. But then they just weren't moving. We had a lot of people go out there and check them out, just turn them down because of the access and terrain on them. So it's they can be a good sell if you market them correctly. We did our run on those and just decided to move along.
I wonder how much winter played a role in that.
What's that?
So I wonder how much winter played a role in that.
It did, but we had those for a long time. Okay. So do you know, did he sell those already?
I don't know. He didn't mention anything, but he seemed excited about them. So I think,
I mean,
if you got cheap enough capital and a long enough runway, yeah, he'll make money on them for sure. What about those weird deals? I don't know if you can provide any more context for the viewers, but like, what are those weird lots you were showing me in Colorado that had like some flood zone issues on them or something?
Oh yeah, like the wetlands area.
Yeah.
We did go ahead and move forward with one of them. So kind of just taking a flyer on it. We just priced it a lot lower, renegotiated that one, and priced it pretty much at a 1 acre lot instead of a 2 acre, since maybe 40% of it has that wetlands on there.
Yeah.
That one ended up dragging out quite a bit. So we just started marketing that. So I don't really have that much feedback from the market yet. We'll see what we're working with. I think it's going to be all right, though. I mean, it's like the area off the south side of the lot is a pretty decent lot. It's like a partially wooded lot in a nice area. It's a good subdivision there. So as long as whoever buys it understands they just have to cut a driveway through the wetlands, can't build on the wetlands, I think it's just you got to disclose some of that and find the right buyer. We're pricing it pretty aggressively too. So I think it should be fine.
Any deals you're excited about currently? Any stuff in your pipeline that you're liking?
We've got a bunch of just pretty average deals as of right now. They're solid. The ones in that Washington area, I think those will be pretty decent. And we've gotten a few hits. We've got 2 people, their relatives that want to go out there, and it sounds like they're going to lock those up. And so those would be buy at 12 total, sell at what would it be, like close to 40. So those would be pretty solid. And then the rest of them are just kind of base hit deals. Nothing super exciting right now.
Though you know what they say, average mailing, average deals.
We're going to ramp that up.
Yes, you are. How have you guys been funding your deals? Do you guys have issues with needing more capital, or what's that look like for you guys? Anything new you're doing?
I've done a mix between self-fund. Obviously, we've done a few double closes, so it doesn't have to. And then if it's an area like I've worked in a ton, I just know the market, I'll just self-fund it.
Yeah.
We've used parcel funders, we've used Greg, and then friends and family. Just like a combination of everything.
Yeah. One of the things I've been thinking about is.
Oh, and sorry, what's the one that we were doing? Oh, Fund and Grow. We use them too.
Okay, yeah. So I had that. Should be launching this month for me. Funding.
Dude, it worked great. The coolest thing about it is, we bought this property for like 13,000, or no, we bought it for 12,000. I just sold it yesterday for like 22, 23. So obviously, I get to keep the profit, and then the buy price technically counts. I get the points on the credit card for that. So every time you buy, that's again if I go to my bank, it shows as if I've charged $12,000.
Wow, that adds up.
That adds up. Yeah, if you could build it to $250,000 and you're just buying properties over and over again, you get the points for that, the rewards.
Wait, but Mike, what happened with that? Because I thought you were having some issues when you originally got approved for that.
Yeah, the issues that I had is my guy kind of screwed me, and I was very clear that all we do is buy properties. Well, Plastic, PLASTIQ, is the B2B. You just put your business credit card, you can fund escrow. It works with Chase, MasterCard, and Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, and then but it doesn't work with Amex. So I got $40,000 of credit line on Amex that I can't
use,
fund. So it was just I paid you guys $4,000 for this service. You gave me $40,000 of a credit line that's useless to me.
Yep.
So that was frustrating, and I'm still going back and forth. And I think whatever, we're going back and forth. But that was the problem. I was very clear as to what I was doing, and he made the mistake. So
how are you doing it now? Then?
What's that?
How are you doing it now?
So I got 3 business credit cards. 3 business credit cards, 2 through Amex, 1 through Chase. So the Chase one, I got a credit line big enough to buy some properties. So the one I bought was on my Chase card.
Yep.
The 2 Amex I just can't use. And then I also got 2 personal cards, one through Bank of California and one through Discover. And then they will after I build a little bit of reputation with those 2 accounts, then they'll apply for business cards.
Gotcha.
It was 5 cards total, 3 business, 2 personal. I can only use 1 business card.
Gotcha.
So, if anybody's watching this, going through the process, be very, very, very clear on what you're doing.
Yeah.
If in land, especially if you're only buying properties through escrow, like there's no need to have an Amex card, zero, because you can't fund properties.
So dude, so interesting. So how much do you have now on that card?
The credit line is 18,000.
18,000. That will grow over time. So when you pull out 13 and then you pay it off, you can go use it again. There's no like grace period immediately. So I mean, you could snowball that into a substantial amount of credit card points, which is pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Like I've even thought of putting my own business credit card in there, which it's got a hefty credit line. The problem is that the credit cards that they are applying for are 0% interest for 12 months. So I'm going to pay interest over on mine. Yeah,
I know, which it doesn't really make sense at that point. I'm actually I bought Sarah, so I'm doing a marathon in a week and a half. I bought Sarah a flight to Maui with credit card points. I'm buying my mom a flight to France next month with credit card points. I'm just like, I looked at my credit card points. I'm like, dude, I have like a couple 100,000. It's crazy what you can do with them. So putting properties on that would be bananas, dude.
Yeah, I highly, so we bought the property for 12. I think we paid like $350 in fees or $275 in fees. That's it.
$275. That's it.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, that's unreal. So my account should be live, they said, this month. So I applied in January. I bought a new car in December. And they're like, hey, we can do it now, but if we do like another, I don't know, hard inquiry on it or something like that, like it'll ding you a good amount. And so like it just wait 3 months for it to season. And so I should have it this month. I'm very curious to see what I get. Super excited to use it though.
Yeah, it's exciting. Just make sure you don't get Amex.
I've talked to them about it, but I'll go relay it to them. And then we're going to do like a webinar with them for the group. And they're going to show everyone how to use it. But dude, that's really, really cool. One of the things I was going to talk about kind of on a tangent is I've been thinking more about, whether the joint venture people or whatever the case is, trying to do more education around almost like land banking. And I think it'd be cool, one, just to have the option to like maybe do some land banking. I mean, some of these deals that we get, I'm like, if I just held this for 10 years, good things are going to happen. Like, I think it could be like 10 to 30% annually just by banking on this and just, keeping it in inventory. And then you have the option to do a quick turn if you need to. But I think like right now, a lot of the education for the folks that we use is around 3-month turns, 4-month turns. I would love to bring people on that are, hey, I'm cool to hold this for a year or two. If we move it faster, great. But if not, totally fine. That also opens us up to do deals that just, some deals just, especially in this market, just don't have quick turns, but they're a good deal if you have cheap enough capital. Like there's deals that we could buy for 100 and sell for 200 or 250, but it might take 8 months to move it. I would love to still do those deals. But we're so focused on the quick turn. So that's something that I've been thinking a lot about is how do we create more education around that? That's not like you're never going to use like big deal funding outfits that are going to get on board with that in most cases. But I think that like there's a lot of folks that are really interested in funding land deals and you can just kind of set the frame around that. So that's something that I've been working on. I had a guy contact me that does something kind of interesting that I can tee you guys up with him if you want to. He does essentially hard money loans for land. So the way it works, he takes no equity in the deals. He's funded up to like 12 million or so far since doing it. I think he's only been doing it for like a couple of years. And he does like usually like big projects. Like he's done a lot of like subdivide funding and just bigger flips. And so the way it works is this is what I was told, I think this would be true for everyone, is 10 points on the front end for like the origination fee, just like you'd see with hard money, and then 8% interest for however long the money is out, right? So that's just annualized. Not bad. Could be cool for some deals. And like there's some deals where I would totally do that, right?
Yeah.
So that's some stuff too that I'm trying to create is like I don't want to have a bunch of debt and promissory notes. I just don't really want to have idle capital. We just don't know what's going to come next. But the hard money stuff on a one-off basis per deal is really, really interesting. So I can tee you guys up with him if you guys want to meet. But that was kind of cool. I've never heard of anyone funding deals like that. Yeah. What about you, Colton? Have you just been doing kind of the bread and butter stuff? Are you doing self-funding?
Mostly family and friends. Self-funding family and friends. I had a conversation with Greg. I think we'll definitely start using him on some of the larger deals.
Yeah.
But that has been the bulk of it so far. Mike, I was curious, how, in the funding grow, what was the process, like start to finish? How long was that approval process?
They do it all for you. Like they're actually pretty good. I'm pretty frustrated with them just like over screwing up in the Amex issue. It's kind of it's a big deal. But other than that, they were like pretty hands-on. They did everything. I think it probably took like from start to finish, 45 days probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
that's
Sumner's takes a little bit longer because he had to like wait for his the car he just bought. But for me, it was like 45 days, I think.
Yeah. So what's cool about that too, it is pretty quick. They really do absolutely everything though. So
everything. They like tell you like do not talk to a bank.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. All you really do is sign a few documents online and then they're off to the races. We got discounted pricing too. I think it's usually $5K. They got it $4K for the group, but we've talked about this before. But what you can do is split it with someone, which I think is really smart. So they'll have that for you. So it's 2K, and you have your own accounts. It's all separated. But if you sign up together, they cut it in half. So $2,000. I mean, even if you don't have a ton of credit history, you'll still get a 10 grand. 20
grand. It pays for itself.
Yeah. So I would get on that. And now you don't really need it right now just because your mail volume is not there. But if you are planning for things to pick up, I would certainly get that in place. I think I would budget 60 days to get it done.
Yeah.
So not too shabby. Well, cool guys. Anything else you guys want to cover? I know we ran here for about an hour. Anything noteworthy or anything we missed out? No.
Ran through it all.
Well, cool guys. For y'all watching, if you guys want to hang out with Colton, Mike, and myself, you can find us at the link down below. Come join the LIA Discord, totally free, totally awesome. I think there's almost 400 members in there, which is pretty cool. I actually got the best compliment the other day. I was on a call with Ajay, and he said, "Dude, I've been in a lot of land investing groups." He's like, the amount of buzz and the stuff that I hear about LIA and just the community and how active it is, he's like, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. So was the highest compliment I could possibly receive. So definitely come hang out with us, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
See you guys.
All right, I'm gonna end this. Damn, I gotta go pee so bad. At all these calls, I always have to go pee.
Yeah.
Colton, do you want to? We can go back into that Google Meet and chat. Mike, you don't have to join if you don't want to, or if you want to provide some feedback. I think it should be pretty straightforward. We'll go through and look at it.